Today's episode touches on sensitive topics that may impact some listeners.
Where do you find God? Almost sounds like a loaded question, doesn't it? I mean, if God was someone you could find, wouldn't everyone be out searching? Well, rather than looking for something elusive, like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I reckon it's more about learning to recognise the way God is already present to us in our everyday lives. I'm Lizzie Oakes, and this is Where Do You Find God? My guest on the podcast today is Lee Baker. Now, Lee is one of the co-hosts on the Sanctuary Breakfast Show. He was born in the UK, left the UK in 1997, spent a number of years living in Australia before settling in New Zealand. In a previous life, Lee was actually a hairdresser. These days, he's got very green fingers, not from hair dye, but he's very into growing indoor plants. In fact, there's a lot of plants, some maybe even in the Sanctuary studio, that I think Lee's taken care of. And here's an interesting fact about Lee. In 35 years, Lee has never missed an All Blacks game. Lee, welcome to Where Do You Find God?
Thanks, Lizzie. I'd say it's a real honour to be here. Thank you.
35 years of not missing an All Blacks game. You must have been in different hemispheres and different parts of the world to watch those games.
Probably the hardest place to keep that going was Australia, because they obviously favour their own team. So there's been occasions where the All Blacks games weren't screening, so I've had to drive out in the middle of nowhere to kind of find a pub that's been playing it. And I've got to say, those 35 years I've been doing this, the majority of the games I've watched have been in pubs, but I have not made a dent in the brewing industry. I just sit there and I nurse one drink of Coke for the whole 80 minutes. So I'm not I've not really helped any other industry apart from, Yeah.
And what a fan you are. And how many games approximately
It's about 512 now. It started in 1990, and I just started dating a Kiwi girl there from Greymouth, and I watched the game and I thought, this is a really cool game. It was totally different from what I'd seen growing up watching soccer, which is quite theatrical and thuggish, Yeah. As they say, what is it? Soccer is a game for gentlemen played by thugs, and rugby is a game for thugs played by gentlemen, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, haven't heard that one.
Mm.
Lee, in Acts chapter 17, verse 27, it says, God intended that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. So my question for you today, Lee, is where do you find God?
That is a really good question. I would say in my 12-year journey as being a Christian now, and I will cry during this whole chat this morning, it would be people. It would be people, and probably the people, broken people.
Yeah.
Broken people, because you wouldn't have known me pre-Christian, but pre-Christian, I really, really didn't. Have you met in your journey when you go out and it slips out that you are Christian, and someone that's not a Christian, they're like, oh yeah, wishy-washy, lukewarm about it, or you occasionally meet people that really want to take you on, have a dig at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
I usually find those people want to talk about God the most, even though they don't actually believe in him. I'm thinking, oh yeah, something's going on here.
Yeah. So
you were one of those.
I was one of those people.
Can't imagine.
When I met my first wife, she was a Christian, and I had like a generational curse, and I did everything I could in the 20 years I was with her to push her away from Christ. And the day that I came here to Rema Media, I had a manifestation, and then I had a deliverance. And I met Jesus. I had an encounter with Jesus. I wasn't a Christian, I hadn't read the Bible, but I had an encounter with Jesus, and he made me a promise. He made me a promise that he would come back to my ex-wife one day, because he told me that I was responsible for pushing her away from Christ, but he would come back to her one day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
One thing I know about you, Lee, is you're very honest, right? You never seem to shy away from just telling people how it is. And I think you agreed to sort of talk about this. You're going through a bit of a hard time right now, right?
Yeah.
Life's quite challenging. So where is God in all of this for you right now?
Well,
and what's happening?
So I made a rather rash decision a couple of years ago and didn't really think it through. And then that arrangement came to an end very abruptly, and not my choice. And I was devastated. I got into a really, really bad place, into a very dark place where I considered doing something horrible. And the moment I considered doing it, God spoke to me and said, mate, get to church, go to this particular church, go and see this guy. So I did that. I drove there.
So you're talking about a relationship breakup,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a relationship breakup. So I went to church and the pastor put his arm around me, gave me a massive big hug, called in the other chaps around me and just loved on me for weeks and weeks and got me through that period. And I would say I find God, again, in people, in Christians, in you, Lizzie. You've been part of my journey in this time. Bjorn and Josh and Sella and Nerida, all of you. Look, I did have the opportunity to go back to commercial radio in the early days, but I made a decision to stay here in Christian ministry because I know this is the safest place for me. It really, really is the safest place. So it's people. That's where I see God. In everybody, actually, in everybody, yeah.
So when you're specifically talking about finding people or finding God in people, you just named a few people. What is it about God's nature that you find in those people?
I just can't fight it. I don't know. There's a cup of tea here. There's my phone. These are inanimate objects, you know. I'm not really into wealth and possessions, but there's something about inside people, there's that spark. There's that spark of God. It's undeniable. Like pre-Christian, I was crazy about science. Post-Christian, down to Christian now, still crazy about science, okay?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but, here's a story. When I went back to Ireland at Christmas time, I was with my sister and she's going, Lee, I just don't believe that this is crazy about you being a Christian because you were going to name your firstborn child Darwin, okay? You were so anti-Christian. Like, I was so, and I know this was because I had a generational curse. When I had that manifestation, this stuff came out of me, and it wasn't of me. It was spiritual, and so then I kind of, what do I do now? I'm a Christian. Do I believe in science? Do I believe in that stuff? And I cannot deny it. They go hand in hand. They absolutely do. You know, when science is, you look at it and go, yep, I get that. But when you're a Christian, you get it more. It's deeper. God is in the fibre and DNA of absolutely everything. So they go hand in hand for me, yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. So I was crazy about Charles Darwin. I didn't like Christians. I was an evolutionist. I was lots of things. I was very angry, very, very angry, broken from a broken childhood, and lots of stuff coming on there. And when Jesus came into my life, bish, bosh, bang, like this big empty hole was full in my heart. And I still wasn't a Christian. It took a journey. Probably the first 2 years I was here, I was swinging back and forth, but I just knew to go to church every Sunday and just not give up on Christ because he's never going to give up on me, and he never has. Even in this journey now, okay, I started on Sanctuary on Valentine's Day. A month earlier, I'd had this dreadful news that my marriage was over. I was in the worst place, but I had one constant in my life, and that was Jesus. And even though I felt really dry, I just clung on to him. Clung on to you, man, and just wouldn't give up. That's my anchor. Jesus is my anchor, yeah, in good and bad.
So when you say you hold on to Jesus as your anchor, what does that look and feel like?
It feels like if you took my spine away from me. Like if you took my spine out, I would just on the floor like a
jelly.
blob. Yeah, I'd be jelly on the floor. I remember downstairs, I'd probably been here about 2 years, and I was referring to, the people I work with, those Christians. And Jesus, God was outside, then sometimes in me, outside, then sometimes in me. And then one day downstairs, just in the marketing area, I felt Jesus was the very core of me. It just happened, just like that. It was very in the core of me, and it's never gone. In ups and downs, it's always there. It's in my spine. It feels like it's in my spine. I can't, no matter how bad it gets, I can't get him out of me. He's stuck now. We're bonded. And, yeah.
So I love that. I start each episode of this podcast with God intended that they would seek him, reach around for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. And you're talking that God is actually in you, like in your spine, like he's like a column of strength to you.
When I was baptized, I was baptized by some people, and none of them knew my story. And at the end of the baptism, they said to me, we have this sense, and they all said this, we had this sense that your birth wasn't celebrated. And I went, yeah, because I'm an abortion survivor. Like, it wasn't someone made a choice that I wasn't to live, okay? And thankfully that didn't happen. I survived. And they were like, yeah, because you were knitted in that womb. You were meant to survive. And I did. And it's just like life is lived backwards. I look back and I go, yeah, I know why I survived, because I was meant to be here and now and go through this stuff. And all the hard stuff that I go through, like lots of people do, you just got to sit it out and stay there and stick with God, because he will deliver afterwards. He just will come through every single time without fail. Yeah. You look a bit stunned there, Lizzie.
Well, you never fail to make me a little speechless with the things you drop into conversation, whether we're on air or off air.
Yeah.
But something I noticed about you in the last few years is that you seem to fall in love with plants. You know, you started propagating plants. What has that journey and process meant for you?
That is that my plants are my babies. So I was a full-time house dad, and after the first separation, and my boys grew up, and
as they do,
and suddenly they pull away from you. They pull away and do their own thing, and they're meant to.
Yeah.
And I had this massive gap in my life.
Kind of hard, though, eh?
Oh, it's still hard, isn't it? It's still every day is hard. So they pulled away from me, and I just thought, what should I do? And I saw a plant, and it made me feel a certain way. So I went and bought some plants, and I felt this love inside me. So they're essentially my little babies. I take a cutting and it grows, and I pass it on to someone else and bless them. And yeah, so that was what the plant thing was. It kind of
and is, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
no,
it's still
moved on a bit.
Oh, you do? Yeah, I'm looking at them now. They're looking a bit shabby, aren't they? But they're still there. Yeah, I'm revisiting that.
But you did things like you grew meadows of flowers and things in your garden.
Yeah.
You put photos up on Facebook, and I'm like, my goodness, look at that.
Well, here's the thing. The weekend that I became a Christian, like this guy took me to church, and I went to church with him and his wife, and I walked into the church, and it was like, oh, these bunch of losers, look at them, they're all lost. And I looked in the mirror and like, oh, that's me. So the service happened, and Bruce McDonald, the pastor's talking away, and I'm like, oh, what a lot of rubbish. And then he said something about an altar call. I stood up, and I'm walking to the front, grabbing onto chairs, going, no, I don't want to do this. And so, I went up, and he put his hand on me, and God came into my life. So the previous day before, I'd gone for a walk with this guy, and the trees and nature were just trees. They were just trees and plants. The next day, I saw the world with different eyes. I saw everything as God's creation, every single plant. And I see that in the houseplants and the plants and trees and nature now. God is everywhere. He's in every fibre, every cell of every living thing. God is in there.
And I'm just thinking, your love of science, and now that's all part of that. And God's in science. He's in nature. And something, when you started to talk just a few minutes ago about the houseplants, this big smile came up on your face, and you're doing it again now. And to me, that speaks to me of a place where not only are you nurturing the plants, but in God in that process, I actually believe He's nurturing you.
Definitely, most definitely. It's a two-way thing, everything. Like you, our friendship with you is a two-way thing. It's always, we can lean into each other. We that's the thing that I did do, and if there's guys listening to this now and they're going through a tough time, please, whatever you do not isolate. Because when my bad thing happened last year, I did what a lot of guys do and pull away from church and go and isolate. The more I isolated, the more depressed I got, and that's when the devil gets in. It will get into your head, and it will take you to a dark and dangerous place. So if you're a guy and you're going through anything like that, find another guy. Go for a walk with a mate, shoulder to shoulder, and open up, because you cannot do it on your own, because that's when the devil, you're on your own, you're vulnerable. So do not do that. Keep close to other men, other good Christian men, and lean into them, yeah.
And also, as you have just modelled to us, do something that makes your heart sing, that brings you life.
Yeah.
Which one of the things for you is plants.
Plants and running. Yeah.
Lee Baker, thank you for joining me today on Where Do You Find God?
Pleasure.
Tune in every Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 on Sanctuary, or listen and subscribe via your favourite podcast platform, and give us a review so others can find us.
If today's program has raised issues that you would like to talk to someone about, phone 0800 Lifeline. Or if you need prayer, call New Zealand Christian Prayer Line on 0800 50 80 80.